What confused me and shocked me at first was the security measures. Russian people are always very strict, no smiles, never ever. To get this little money and do such a good job.
When you went to Russia, what surprised you the most? What did you expect and what was reality?
I expected to understand nothing at first.
Okay.
I was right. It was chaos. But what I was really surprised by was a lot of Russians knowing German for whatever reason, especially old people.
Yeah.
I've got no clue why. Sometimes when I was speaking in German with my friends on the bus, there were a lot of Germans in Kazan too. Somebody, either young or old people, would just come up and talk to us in German because they knew some German for whatever reason. That was very interesting.
Yeah.
And the thing that first freaked me out the most was just that you have no syntax, no order in your sentences. Because I was used to "Как ты?" So how are you? And the first thing someone said when I entered the student home, "Ty как?" I was like, what? I mean, it's two words, just switched around, but it confused me for 5 minutes at least. And after that it was fine, but still.
Yeah, but I also mean in a country, when you arrived, what was the surprise? Except these difficulties with documents, what else? Probably like people also, or dorms, or maybe, I don't know, lifestyle.
Yeah, so there's the reputation that Russian dorms are quite bad, let's say. I was lucky in Kazan, I have to say. There was a choice between two dorms, one in the center and one in the University Village, which was constructed in 2013, just especially for the university. That's a sport championship for university students. It was a giant complex. You can fit 13,500 people in there. And foreign students had our own house. And I was very positively surprised about, well, let's say, the condition of the house. It was pretty nice. What confused me and shocked me at first was the security measures, because there is a fence around the whole area and you need some little card called propusk to get into the area of the University Village, and then you need another one. So not your propusk that you need to get into the area, but you need another card for your house to get into your house and your room and to get your key. That was something that shocked me at first. And the second thing is the stereotype that Russian people are always like this, like
No smile,
very strict, no smiles, never ever. That's actually not true. So if you walk around a little bit, of course, when it's cold and minus 30 degrees, you're not going to see anybody smile. But if you're here in summer in Petersburg, like right now, and if I'm looking at you and you're smiling a lot. So
we pretend, don't worry.
Oh, come on.
Is there any difference between studying in Austria and studying in Russia? How did you find it?
There is a difference insofar that in Austria, if you study at the university, you can choose your own courses, you can make your own timetable, and you have your own classes, and the groups change all the time. So there are some people that you of course meet over and over again, but usually per semester you know different people, which is nice on one hand because you always get to know other people. On the other hand, it's a bit, well, sad because you get friends with someone and then you don't see them again ever at university because they just have different classes. There's a second type of university, you could say, in Austria and also Germany, I think, that are universities of applied sciences, and they work the same way as universities do in Russia. You have your fixed class, your group, they give you a timetable and you follow that thing like to the letter. So basically everything is written there. And what surprised me still was that you guys have like sports classes for everybody, compulsory sports classes even in university. That's something that stops when you finish school in Austria. It was at first confusing, like why they're old enough. On the other hand, it makes sense because you get some movement at least. Because I often notice when I'm in Austria and I have a lot to do, I'm just sitting around, and you get sports at least once a week this way. And also one thing that surprised me was the quality of the education. It heavily depended on the teacher, that for sure. We had one teacher that was horrible, but there were also other teachers that were very, very progressive. And what really surprised me was the quality and the passion they had with their job, because their salaries are a joke. Like teachers, also doctors, but also teachers, they earn next to nothing in Russia. That's like half the medium salary they earn. And to get this little money and do such a good job, that was something that, well, they have my respect. Let's put it like that.